The restrictive barrier that they were powerless to break before was now easily cut through by the two spacetime sword aura like tofu. When the Yellow Emperor and Patriarch Lu saw this scene, they immediately revealed excited expressions. He had finally opened this broken turtle shell. At the same time, in the deepest part of the restrictive barrier, he saw a 30,000-kilometer-tall God Emperor wearing a gray-white God Emperor costume. His skin was pale and his expression was cold. He was fighting a huge black spider that was more than 10,000 kilometers tall and an undead emperor that was more than 10,000 kilometers tall. His entire body was made of white bones. They are the tyranny and despotic ruler of the Dark Crow, Asgrad, the Queen of Spiders, Lorsi, and the undying King Orcus. At this moment, they were all looking coldly at a figure in the deep canyon below. It was a person wearing dark black ferocious armor and riding a dark black dragon steed. His eyes were blood red and he held a blood-red spear. It was the King of Abyssal Knights, Bai. At this moment, this human true god tier was waving his spear and releasing law skills, killing the undead creatures that were charging towards him. These undead creatures were all at the legendary tier level. Occasionally, there would be lesser gods, mid-tier deity levels, and even high-tier deity-level death god spirits. All of them charged at Bai without any regard for their own safety. They wanted to fight Bai with their lives. However, Bai was a low-level true god-tier expert after all. Facing these legendary tier undead, he could casually swing his spear and kill a large number of them without even using law skills. He could even kill those death-type god spirits with one shot. But even so, Bai's expression remained unchanged. In fact, there was a grave expression on his face, because he had seen it. The death god spirits that he had just killed charged over from afar again after a while, as if they had never died. Strands of invisible purple spider silk also floated in the air around Bai, silently obstructing or even assassinating him. Even though Bai could destroy a large portion of the spider silk with a casual shot, more spider silk would approach in a short while, wanting to harm Bai again. Bai was also helpless in this situation, so he could only carefully guard against the attacks and obstructions of these spider silks. From the looks of it, it won't be long before this human true god tier dies under your methods. I can't compare to His Majesty's methods. If it wasn't for His Majesty's restriction that suppressed this human true god tier's combat strength to only 80%, how could we have been so relaxed? You two know your stuff, Asgrad laughed. He had only obtained this true god tier restriction by chance after entering a true god tier mystic realm. The effect of this restrictive barrier was very simple after it was built. The first was defense. This true god tier barrier could only be broken by peak true god tier existences. The second ability was to weaken the enemy's combat power by absorbing divine power. This true god tier restriction barrier could silently absorb the divine power in the bodies of enemies below the true god level to maintain the operation of the restriction barrier. At the same time, during the process of absorbing divine power, the strength of the god that was absorbed would also decrease by about 20%. These were the two strongest abilities of this true god tier restriction barrier. He also had other small abilities such as spatial transference, forming a world of his own, and so on. However, in terms of practicality, it was far inferior to these two main abilities. After all, to true gods, spatial transference and the creation of temporary small worlds were simply the most normal abilities of true god tier existences. To be able to let us three top-notch true god tiers deal with Bai isn't an insult to the honorable title of the King of Abyssal Knights. However, from today onwards, there will no longer be any King of Abyssal Knights in this world. I'll use his corpse to exchange for benefits from those high-level bloodline races. That human king of the blazing sun has long been hated by those top races because he's ahead of many top lords of the 10,000 races on the Supreme Will's ranking. Because of the Supreme Agreement, they don't dare to attack the king of the blazing sun. However, it's still possible for us to deal with the higher-ups of the human race and use their corpses to exchange for benefits from those top races and civilizations. From there, we can indirectly reduce the future potential of the King of the Blazing Sun. Asgrad said coldly. Speaking of which, I remember that there are still a few true god tiers alive in the human race. Orcus spoke in a hoarse, low voice, but with great interest. When the spider goddess heard this, she hurriedly said, "The strongest true god tier of the human race, Pangu, is hidden in the heavenly barbarian empire. Pangu has the potential to advance to the master god tier a long time ago. If we really want to offend the human race, it's best to get rid of Pangu first. Otherwise, even if we destroy the human race, as long as Pangu doesn't die, we won't be able to eat or sleep in peace." I know. Coincidentally, 2 human true god tiers came outside my restrictive barrier just now. They should be the companions of this human true god tier. After killing by he, we'll let those 2 true god tier humans in. When the time comes, we'll deal with them all and send their corpses to those top-notch races and civilizations to exchange for benefits. Asgrad said slowly. Just as he said that, his expression suddenly changed. "What is it, Your Majesty?" Lorsi and Orcus, who had been secretly watching this god-emperor, immediately said, "An unknown existence has broken through my true god-tier barrier and is rushing towards us," Asgrad said with an ugly expression. He had just bragged to his 2 lackeys about how powerful his true god-tier advanced grade restriction barrier was. He did not expect to be slapped in the face the moment he turned around. "The barrier has been broken?" The Queen of Spiders, Lorsi, and the Undead King, Orcus, were shocked. They immediately asked, "Has Master God tier descended?" "I don't think so. I didn't sense the aura of a Master God tier from those 2 unknown existences. Instead, I feel that the people who came seem to be humans. If I'm not wrong, it should be the human god spirit that was isolated outside my true god tier restriction barrier." What a joke! An elementary grade true god tier and an intermediate true god tier actually dare to find trouble with us. Human race. Has the human race mastered a special method to break the restrictive barrier? The 2 gods were puzzled. "I don't know. But that doesn't matter anymore. Let's go and capture those 2 human true god tiers first. At that time, we'll sell them to those high-level bloodline races together," Asgrad said indifferently. At this moment, before they made a move, the 3 deities suddenly realized that a galaxy tore through space and appeared directly above their heads. Then, the Yellow Emperor and Patriarch Lu flew out of the galaxy and looked coldly at the 3 gods below. The powerful divine power on them did not give the 2 of them any pressure. This was because during the sword test just now, they had already confirmed that his strength had already reached the level of being invincible without a Master God tier. There was no choice. The 2 true God-tier divine artifacts were simply too powerful for them. At this moment, Patriarch Lu looked at the 3 true God-tiers below and White River, who was almost exhausted from the torture below. A crazy thought suddenly arose in his heart. That was to kill these 3 true God-tiers. Only by killing these 3 true God-tiers would their possession of the true God-tier divine artifacts be kept a secret. He immediately secretly conveyed his thoughts to the Yellow Emperor. The Yellow Emperor looked deeply at him before slowly nodding. Then, he waved his right hand and repaired the true God-tier barrier. "What are you humans doing?" Upon seeing this scene, Asgrad was alarmed as he had a bad feeling. But before he could react, he saw the Yellow Emperor and White River suddenly fly towards him. At the same time, the sword of New Dimension creation in his hand and the Eternal Fallen Stick's divine armor on his body suddenly lit up with an extremely strong light under the supply of dermic powers from a true God-tier God spirit. At the same time, the Yellow Emperor created a small spatial teleportation channel and placed the Undying God scroll inside the small spatial teleportation channel before retreating inside. At the same time, a small spatial teleportation channel and a voice suddenly appeared in front of White River, who was fighting endless undead creatures. "Use this scroll. Then, we'll deal with these 3 abyssal true god tiers together and avenge you." He was stunned. Then, he looked at the Undying God scroll's specific effect and used it without hesitation. Whoosh! He, who was originally injured, quickly recovered under the power of this huge life law. In the blink of an eye, his body had already recovered to its peak state. Not only that, the surging power of the laws of life seemed to overflow from his body. It actually produced all kinds of delicate plants around him. Furthermore, these plants were constantly spreading into the distance with the help of vitality. Such a scene could absolutely be called a wondrous scene in the abyss that was renowned for battle, slaughter, death, and bloodshed. Even the three abyssal true god tier were stunned when they saw this scene. I've recovered from all my injuries, even though I only have half of my magic power left. But we can still hold on for a while. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth with a cold expression as he pointed his crimson spear at the three true god tier cultivators. Even though there was one advanced grade true god tier and two intermediate true god tiers among the three true gods, he was not afraid at all. His title as the god of abyssal knights did not come from fear. As an intermediate master god tier potential holder, he was also an elementary grade true god who had once killed a peerless powerhouse at the intermediate true god tier. This is hilarious. You're all super powerhouses of the abyss after all. You actually joined forces to attack our human race 10,000 times. Furthermore, he's using such a careful method. He really doesn't have the heart of an expert at all. No wonder you guys have been hesitating in your respective realms for tens of thousands of years and still haven't broken through. Patriarch Lu laughed. These words immediately hit the sore spot of the three abyss true god tiers. If not for the fact that they had not broken through for a long time, they would not have wanted to seek help from those top-notch races and civilizations in an attempt to break through to a higher realm. Human ants. The three of you will definitely die here today. With the support of the two true god-tier divine artifacts, he and by his true combat power had already reached the peak of the true god tier. Furthermore, he had used the Undying God Scroll, and his battle prowess was comparable to a pinnacle true god tier. At this moment, they were really confident in killing these three abyssal true god tiers. Asgrad and the other two abyssal true god tiers were stunned when they heard this. Then, as if they had heard a big joke, they laughed out loud. What did I hear? They want to kill us in my restriction barrier. Has this human true god tier gone crazy? What kind of dream can make you say such a thing? Come. Let me destroy it first. Disbelief suddenly appeared on the three deities' faces, and the rest of their words were stuck in their mouths. This was because the Eternal Fallen Stick's divine armor and the Sword of New Dimension creation in the hands of the Yellow Emperor and Patriarch Lu had already emitted a shocking divine artifact pressure. They looked at the three gods coldly, as if they were looking at three corpses. The next second, they suddenly turned into 6 shocking rays of light and rushed towards each other. Zhou stared blankly at the personal terminal in his hand that had suddenly self-destructed. You can't record a battle between true god tiers, so it directly couldn't withstand the explosion. He was a little speechless. Then he shook his head regretfully. It seemed that he would not be able to watch the exciting battles that followed. However, he was not too worried. After all, with 4 true god-tier divine artifacts and a true god-tier Undying God Scroll, the Yellow Emperor's combat strength far exceeded that of Asgrad and company. And even if he couldn't kill them in the end, he would definitely be able to save he. Wenya, use true god-tier materials to create a personal terminal for me, Zhou said casually. He actually had quite a lot of true god-tier materials in his hands. They were all provided by those high-tier deity-level materials with +1 in quality. In addition, a small personal terminal didn't use much materials, so Zhou didn't want to save on this aspect. Yes, Your Majesty. On the screen in front of Zhou, Wenya appeared and bowed respectfully to him. Zhou nodded. After some thought, he decided to continue comprehending the Lord's laws. He was not in a hurry to enter the time world immediately. Instead, he took out 10 green bronze-tier Lord Talent crystal fragments and fused them into green bronze-tier Lord Talent Origin Divine crystals. Right on the heels of that, he silently used it and raised his Lord Talent, King, to bronze. Lord Talent, King, green bronze tier, nomological law enhancement, King. As the king of subjects, you can mark a subject that belongs to you and control everything they have, including but not limited to appearance, bloodline, skills, weapons, law skills, and even illusory fate. When you control everything that the marked subject has, the subject doesn't have to suffer any negative effects. 5 subjects. 5 subjects. Zhou looked a little surprised. So much for the green bronze tier. If his lord talent was raised to the mythical tier level, could he gather the power of all the subjects in the territory and focus it on himself? If that was the case, it would be too terrifying. Still, this was the greatest characteristic of a command-type law skill. Using numbers to win against numbers. The weak won against the strong. Gathering everyone's strength. They controlled all living beings and myriad daos and did something that defied the heavens to reach the top. If it wasn't so strong, it would be a disgrace to its reputation as a supreme law path. Then, he directly entered the Reincarnation sacred palace and casually opened a time world in his main body. He entered it to comprehend the Lord's laws at the greatest time flow ratio. At the same time, in the outside world, Qi Shentian and the others were still hunting down the targets that Zhou had set. As the targets were killed one after another, lines of text notifications appeared in front of Zhou, who was studying the laws in the time world. However, Zhou did not pay attention to this at all. He was fully focused on comprehending the Lord's laws. The sun would be setting in 4 hours. In the galaxy, Zhou slowly opened his eyes. 5 years. I've finally comprehended the green bronze tier Lord Law. He shook his head in disappointment. He was a little dissatisfied with this speed. He was a little envious of those gods who walked the normal nomological path. If he took the normal law path with the hundreds of law skills on him, he could casually choose any one of them and rely on them to become a god. Or if he directly used a true god-tier book of the god spirit, he could easily become an achievement deity. Furthermore, he would be a deity with extremely high potential in the future. Unlike now, he still had to slowly comprehend it step by step. However, he did not regret it. If we want to leave, we have to walk the path of the strongest god spirit. I have talent, capital, and conditions. If I don't leave, I'll be letting down my opportunities. Zhou thought to himself and became even more determined after she thought it through. Then, he opened his current law skill. Law skill name, King. Law skill quality, Green Bronze Tier King. As the king of subjects, you can mark a subject that belongs to you and control everything they have, including but not limited to appearance, bloodline, skills, weapons, law skills, and even illusory fate. When you control everything that the marked subject has, the subject doesn't have to suffer any negative effects. Zhou closed the interface and took out 10 white silver tier Lord Talent crystal fragments, fusing them into a white silver tier Lord Talent origin divine crystals. Then, he raised his King Lord Talent to the white silver tier. Lord Talent, King, white silver tier, nomological law enhancement, King. As the king of subjects, you can mark a subject that belongs to you and control everything they have, including but not limited to appearance, bloodline, skills, weapons, law skills, and even illusory fate. When you control everything that the marked subject has, the subject doesn't have to suffer any negative effects. It directly increased to 20 subjects. Strong. Zhou thought in surprise. What did 20 subjects mean? King. As the king of the subjects, you can mark 20 subjects that belong to you and control everything they have, including, but not limited to, appearance, bloodline, skills, weapons, law skills, and even illusory fate. With the strength of so many experts on my body, I should be able to use a causal attack from a lower-level true god tier 5 to 6 times, right? Zhou thought. At this moment, a brand new personal terminal was sent to him by a robot. When Yu's voice rang out, "Your Majesty, the personal terminal you need to make with true god-tier materials has been completed." Already? Zhou raised his eyebrows and did not mind. He picked it up and put it on his arm. Then, he turned it on and verified it. Then, he called Ji-Yun immediately. However, as soon as he called, the screen showed that the signal fluctuation was too great and he could not communicate normally. Then, after a while, he automatically hung up. Zhou frowned slightly when he saw this scene. Looks like they're still fighting over there. Otherwise, even if it's the abyss, it's impossible for the signal to be bad. This human terminal was created by the god-tier AI life form, Wanya. Every personal terminal was almost equivalent to a small communication satellite. Therefore, it was almost impossible for it to be unable to communicate. The current signal was not good. It could only mean that the fluctuations of the battle over there were too great, so much so that his personal terminal could not take effect. He sent a message to Qi Shantian and asked how many targets he had dealt with. In the end, the other party had replied and was now dealing with the last target, mid-tier deity-level elementary grade Scarlet God Spirit Tamir. It was almost nighttime. Therefore, when Zhou saw this, he directly sent a message to the other party. After dealing with the last target, he would return to the capital of the Blazing Sun Kingdom to recuperate. Qi Shantian immediately accepted the order. At this moment, a message was sent. It was from Linger. Spiritual Herb Kingdom. Spiritual Herb Lord. Big brother. I just built a kingdom. It's called the Spiritual Herb Kingdom. Big brother. When are you coming over to take a look? Blazing Sun Kingdom. Lord of the Blazing Sun. I'll take a look when I get back. Spiritual Medicine Kingdom. Lord of Spiritual Medicine. Yes. Yes. I'll be waiting for Big Brother. A smile appeared on Zhou's face as he read the two sentences. The little girl who had timidly asked him for a deal back then had actually grown into the ruler of a country? Felt like a lifetime ago. Then, Zhou thought of something and asked Linger about the Star Alliance. After knowing that they had already taken down 2 beginner-level Crimson Kingdoms, he nodded in satisfaction. There were more than 200 million soldiers and some experts he had sent over. If they still couldn't take down the 2 beginner Crimson Kingdoms, they could directly reincarnate. After conquering these 2 beginner Crimson Kingdoms, the last condition for my Blazing Sun Kingdom to advance to an intermediate grade kingdom has been met. When I return, I can advance to the intermediate kingdom. Zhou thought to himself. This day had finally arrived. At this moment, another line of text appeared in front of him. System notification. Faction quests. Save the Divine Sword Empire. Legendary tier advance grade. Unique. Completed. 400 million faction points, 100 legendary tier mist cores, and a random special building blueprint for the Qi Practitioner's cultivation path have been distributed. 10,000 Qi Practitioners, yellow gold tier, have pledged their loyalty to you. All loyalty has reached 90 points. Zhou was stunned for a moment before a smile appeared on his face. 3 blessings at once. He opened the Lord Faction Points ranking. Myriad Races Lord Faction Points ranking. First place. Human, Lord of the Blazing Sun. 1,819,000,000 faction points. Second place. Original Spirit Race. True Lord. 1,250,000,000 faction points. Third place. Shepherd's God Race. Heaven Chasing Lord. 512 million faction points. Fourth place. Chaos God's Race. Great One Lord. 210,000 faction points. Fifth place. Myriad Spirit. Spiritual Venerable Lord. 280 million faction points. A smile appeared on Zhou's face. The 4 targets gave him 150 million faction points. In addition to the 400 million points from the mission reward, he had a total of 550 million faction points. Now, not only did the gap between high and the second place have also widened. What would the true Lord think when he saw this? Zhou thought to himself. In the Myriad Spirit City, the spiritual Venerable Lord looked at the name at the top of the list in surprise. This human lord, in such a short period of time, his faction points actually increased by so much? TSK. Is this the former strongest lord of all races? Indeed. An existence that can take first place in the previous Supreme Will event is not something that can be achieved by luck. This person is really capable. The spiritual Venerable Lord sighed. The Myriad Spirit Race was one of the few high-level bloodline races that would not underestimate low-level bloodline races. The reason for that was because the people of the Myriad Spirit Race were living beings that had gained sentience from the myriad substances in the world. They could be as small as a grain of sand and as big as a star. As long as it was a dead thing that had developed intelligence, it could become a Myriad Spirit Race. Coupled with the experts of this race, there were also a few experts who had risen from normal matter. Therefore, this race did not value bloodlines very much. Therefore, the spiritual venerable Lord didn't feel any hostility toward the rise of the Lord of the Blazing Sun. Instead, he wanted to watch a good show. I wonder how far the Lord of the Blazing Sun can go in the end? He thought expectantly. The true Lord was also sitting on the throne, silently looking at the ranking list in front of him. This Lord of the Blazing Sun is indeed not an ordinary human. I'm actually so much more inferior to him, even with the secret help of the race behind me. My race's heritage far exceeds his. Logically speaking, even if thousands of human lords were added together, they shouldn't have as many faction points as me. But he achieved it. There's only one possibility. That is, the progress of his territory's development and the growth of the strong far exceeds my lord's faction. It resulted in some kind of increase in magnitude in his strength, which allowed him to obtain so many faction points. Even with the power of the entire country, I have to be careful when facing a low-tier deity-level elementary-grade god spirit. I'm afraid the other party can already kill a god. Even though the true Lord felt that his deduction was somewhat unbelievable, this was the only answer that could answer his doubts. Looks like I can only use that method, even though it's a little shameless. But for the future of the race and that dream, everything is worth it, the true Lord said with a hint of determination in his eyes. A moment later, Zhou thought for a moment and did not plan to continue using the Eye of the Heavens' anger today to find other targets. This was because using the Eye of the Heavens' anger would consume a lot of energy, and Zhou planned to do something else tomorrow. Therefore, if he wanted to do it in a complete state, he could only postpone using the Eye of the Heavens' anger for a day. There's already a huge gap between me and second place. It's only a day or two. I shouldn't have to worry about being caught up, Zhou thought with some peace of mind. Then, he didn't waste any more time and directly left. He first found an Empire-level Scarlet Army and used the remaining Insight defection. Once again, the Insight defection reached the upper limit of 50 million soldiers. Then, he called all the Insight defection soldiers to board the spaceship. Then, he picked up his soldiers and returned to the Blazing Sun Kingdom. Blazing Sun Kingdom, Advanced Grade Lord's Paradise. In front of the kingdom's golden monument, Zhou looked at the golden monument in front of him. Soon, a text notification appeared. Prompt: you have fulfilled all the requirements to advance to an intermediate kingdom. Do you wish to upgrade the Blazing Sun Kingdom to an intermediate kingdom? Upgrade, Zhou said in a low voice. Prompt: you have one chance to change the location of the king's city. Do you want to change/retain it? Retain. Zhou was stunned for a moment before answering without thinking. The king of the Blazing Sun was the place where he had risen to prominence. Be it himself, the soldiers under him, or the subjects, they all had deep feelings for this place. Furthermore, the area locked up by the king of the Blazing Sun had been modified quite well. It had completely changed from its former desert image to a land with abundant water, soil, and resources. Currently, there weren't many places in the entire Blazing Sun Kingdom that could compare to the Blazing Sun Kingdom. Under such circumstances, prompt: your choice has been confirmed. Prompt: level up successful. Congratulations. Your beginner Kingdom Lord territory, Blazing Sun Kingdom, has officially been promoted to Intermediate Kingdom Lord territory. Blazing Sun Kingdom. Prompt: you can display the level of your kingdom and territory on any channel. A smile appeared on Zhou's face. He had finally succeeded in advancing. But in the next second, a text notification that he hadn't expected suddenly appeared in front of him. Lord of all races Lord announcement. Congratulations to the human race, the Lord of the Blazing Sun, for successfully establishing the first intermediate kingdom. Rewards: Lord of all races mythical tier treasure chest +1, intermediate kingdom treasure chest +1, reputation rating +10, mythical reputation rating +1. Lord of all races announcement. Congratulations to the human race, Lord of the Blazing Sun. Lord of all races announcement. Congratulations to the human race, Lord of the Blazing Sun. The first to advance to the Lord's territory of the Intermediate Kingdom will actually trigger a full channel announcement of the Lords of all races? Zhou Zhou's eyes widened. Then he became excited. If that was the case, didn't that mean that, in the future, the first person to establish the Lord's territory of an advanced kingdom, the first to establish the Lord's territory of an elementary empire, and the Lord's territory of a higher level would have a chance to trigger the full channel announcement of the Lords of all races again? As the last Lord who triggered the entire channel announcement of the Lords of all races, Zhou Zhou naturally knew how generous its rewards were. The last mythical tier treasure chest and the Novice Kingdom treasure chest had given him a true God-level hero slot advancement book, and the sword of Xian Yuan, Sun Moon Star Sword. With this in mind, Zhou Zhou didn't look at the kingdom's text notification at the back. Instead, he looked at the mythical tier treasure chest. He opened it and saw a familiar piece of paper emitting a faint golden light appear in front of him. A text notification appeared. Treasure name: Hero Slot Advancement Book, Treasure Effect. After using it, any hero of any race can immediately upgrade their hero slot to the true God tier hero fate level. Treasure description: a precious treasure that can greatly increase the fate level of low-level heroes. The highest level can be upgraded to the true God tier hero's fate level. Another hero slot promotion book? Zhou Zhou was a little disappointed. To other lords, this was an unimaginable treasure. After all, having another true God tier level hero was equivalent to having another figure comparable to the Yellow Emperor Patriarch Lu, Baihe, and Buddha Lord in the future. But to Zhou Zhou, that was all. He had a few true God tier hero inheritance manuals and even the true God tier book of the God Spirit after all. The latter was even more precious than this true God tier hero slot promotion book. However, after some thought, Zhou Zhou still put it away solemnly. This hero slot advancement book could help some low-level heroes with fate level to avoid the disadvantage of switching to other hero paths when their future was bleak. From there, they could directly open up a true God tier follow-up hero path on the hero path that they were originally familiar with. From this perspective, it was actually quite precious. After Su-an advances to a God Spirit, I'll give it to him. Zhou Zhou thought for a moment and made a decision. The Knight Rakshasa Sword God hero slot that Su-an had comprehended himself was a high-tier deity-level hero slot. It looked good. However, among Zhou Zhou's current heroes, it was only SOSO. He would give anything good to his soldiers, including the high-quality hero inheritance after all. As a result, among the heroes under his command, the weakest one was a lesser God-level hero. With the enhancement of the Sun Moon Star Sword, Su-an's potential had already shockingly reached the level of an advanced grade Master God tier. It was a pity that such potential was not worthy of a high-level hero slot. In that case, this treasure was perfect for Su-an. As for Baiyun, Wu Xian, and the others as his most trusted aides, they had long been upgraded to the true God tier by him using the true God-level hero inheritance secret manual. It's settled then. Zhou Zhou made a decision. Then, he opened another Intermediate Kingdom treasure chest. It was also a true God tier hero slot promotion book just now. Could it be that this Intermediate Kingdom treasure chest also contains a race divine artifact? He guessed in his heart. When he saw the items in the box, his mouth immediately fell open. It's really a divine artifact of the race. It was a golden book. Race divine artifact name: Holy Record. Quality of divine artifact. Unique title of the race: Race divine artifact ability 1. Book of Creation. Place it anywhere in the territory and it will be effective on the Lord's territory. Cerulean planets human comprehension +1. No more than low-tier deity level. The basic comprehension of the owners of race divine artifacts and all the living beings in the territory +1, not exceeding the Master God tier. The efficiency of comprehending the basic laws of living beings who have stepped into the threshold of the laws at the same time +100%. Race divine artifact ability 2, Book of Prophecy. Place it anywhere in the territory and it will be effective on the Lord's territory. When a lord, territory, or subject is in great danger, the Book of Prophecy will give a certain notification. Race divine artifact ability 3, Book of Faith. Place it anywhere in the territory and it will be effective on the Lord's territory. It can slowly increase the loyalty of the territory's subjects and increase the probability of a fanatic believer advancing to the Holy Spirit by 10%. Introduction to Race Divine Artifact. Holy Record, also known as Book of Creation, Book of Prophecy, Book of Faith. Legend has it that it was left behind by the god spirits when they created the world. It is also a divine artifact of the human race on the cerulean planet. It's actually the Holy Record? Jojo clicked his tongue in wonder. This was the #1 best-selling book on the cerulean planet. He did not expect that after coming to the High Continent, it would actually become a divine artifact of the race. Jojo took a closer look at the effect of this race divine artifact and realized that even though he was not as practical as the Sword of Xian Yuan, the effect was not bad. The Book of Creation could increase the comprehension of a blazing Sun Kingdom subject by 1 level. In other words, if a subject's potential was Diamond tier, with the enhancement of the Book of Creation, his potential would remain unchanged, and his comprehension would increase to the level of an extraordinary tier. The subsequent comprehension of the laws increased the basic efficiency by 100%. Even though the audience area was small, the higher the level of the expert, the higher the demand in this aspect. Especially Jojo. The Lord's Law was the most difficult law to comprehend among the endless laws. Even though he had many supplementary comprehension methods, he still felt that it was rather difficult for him to comprehend. However, with this 100% increase in the efficiency of comprehending the laws, he should be much more relaxed in the future. The Book of Prophecy seemed to overlap with his danger prediction, talent intuition, and other abilities, but it also had its merits. As for the Book of Faith, the god spirits under Jojo walked the path of nomological godhood, not the path of faith. Therefore, he was temporarily unclear about the specific effects of the Book of Faith. However, Jojo should be able to understand it after he used the Lord's laws to become a god. This was because the Lord's Law was a law path with 2 characteristics: law and faith. This Book of Faith should be useful to him in the future. Not bad, not bad. Jojo put away the Holy Record. Even though his overall increase in the human race on the cerulean planet was only a small increase in the comprehension ability of the human race on the cerulean planet, no more than level 1, in general, he was quite satisfied with this race divine artifact. He opened the World Channel and took a look. All he saw were the words, "Long live His Majesty." Some of them were excited for Jojo to appear on the entire channel of the Lord of all races again, while others were excited for the enhancement of the new race divine artifact. He typed, "Blazing Sun Kingdom, Intermediate Grade. Lord of the Blazing Sun, Low Profile." The Lords of Cerulean Planet on the World Channel reacted extremely quickly. They immediately replied in unison with "Yes, ha ha ha, yes," and other cheerful comments. Jojo closed the World Channel after watching it for a while. "I like to suck up to curry favor, ingratiate. It seems like I can't change this habit of mine." Jojo smacked his lips. Then, he continued to look at the final reward. "Tomorrow, I will have another mythical reputation rating talent and 10 reputation rating talents joining my territory." Jojo was filled with anticipation. A talent with reputation rating was nothing. Mythical reputation rating talents were quite valuable. After all, his first mythical reputation rating talent was Guoqiao. He was currently one of the strongest combatants in his territory. Then, he looked at the following text notification. "Novice Kingdom Hint 1. After your kingdom is promoted to an intermediate kingdom, your reputation will spread throughout a wider area. More life forms will gradually know of your kingdom's existence. Please be prepared to handle the subsequent kingdom affairs." Novice Kingdom Hint 2. Your kingdom channel has officially advanced to the intermediate kingdom channel. It can accommodate up to 5 billion subjects. Novice Kingdom Hint 3. You have activated the affiliated kingdom function. You can recruit up to 10 beginner kingdom lord factions to become your affiliated kingdom. Affiliated kingdoms are not allowed to attack the main kingdom. They have to accept the orders of the main kingdom and advance and retreat with the main kingdom. The main kingdom has to support the development of the subsidiary kingdom within its capabilities and protect the affiliated kingdom from external enemies. There is a parent-child spatial teleportation array between the main kingdom and the affiliated kingdom. can be used for free regardless of distance. The main kingdom has the right to unilaterally close the parent-child spatial teleportation array. There's actually an additional affiliated kingdom function? Zhou raised his eyebrows. He took a closer look and realized that the function of this affiliated kingdom was similar to that of the subsidiary territory. It was just that the price of teleportation was gone, and there was no difference in anything else. At this moment, he opened it and saw that there were a total of 20 applications. All of them wanted to apply to join his affiliated kingdom. Spiritual Medicine Kingdom, Dragon Blood Kingdom, Military Kingdom, Xiantian Kingdom, Conqueror Kingdom, Tian Shang Kingdom. The kings behind them were all cerulean planet lords who had bought the kingdom token from him. Of course, Lingers was a gift from him. It seems that after I activated this function, they also received the notification at the same time. TSK, aren't all of you stupid? That's how we're really on the same side. Instead of verbal subordination, Zhou smiled. He was naturally referring to the Dragon Lady Lord and the others, not the lords of the Star Alliance who were affiliated to him. Of course, it was also possible that it was because he had once again reached the top of the faction points rankings of the Lord of all races and shocked Dragon Lady Lord and the others too much. That was why they could not wait to apply immediately. However, no matter what the reason was, it did not matter. This was because once they really joined his faction and became his affiliated kingdom, they would be affected by the Lord talent of the peaceful times. When the time comes, no matter what kind of thoughts they had before joining, after joining, they would abandon those thoughts and completely submit to him from head to toe. This was how terrifying the extraordinary tier Lord talent of the peaceful times was. If he wanted to obtain it, he had to pay. This was the truth of the world. Zhou pulled all these applicants into a small group without hesitation and confirmed again if they really wanted to join him and become his affiliated kingdom. After receiving an affirmative reply, he began to apply through their affiliated kingdom. Spiritual Medicine Kingdom, Dragon Blood Kingdom, Mysterious Heaven Kingdom, Military Kingdom, Immortal Kingdom, Overlord Kingdom, Overlord Lord, Chong Nong Kingdom, Nongcheng Lin, Tian Shang Kingdom, Gold Merchant Lord, Paper Immortal Kingdom, Paper Immortal Lord, Magic Kingdom. Zhou looked at the list and nodded slightly. Among the 10 kingdoms, the first 9 were acquaintances. Only one magic kingdom was founded by a magic lord named Merlin. It was said that this person came from the northern European region of the cerulean planet. After coming to the high continent, he awakened the epic tier lord talent Magic Academy. He could learn magic and nurture mages. Therefore, he was a top-notch lord from the beginning. Later on, when he held the kingdom token auction for the second time, this person also auctioned off a piece and used it to establish his own kingdom, the Magic Kingdom. Seeing that he had good potential and a decent character, Zhou gave him a spot to join his affiliated kingdom. Then, without hesitation, he sent 5 million copies of the Yellow Gold Tier God Attendant Class Change Certificate and 5 million copies of the Violent Storm Spirit Class Change Certificate to each of the 10 affiliated kingdoms. In total, there were a total of 100 million kingdom-level soldier-type class change certificates. These two things were worth 1 billion yuan a day, and he could not use them all. Therefore, he did not feel the pinch at all when he gave them 100 million copies. However, these 10 lords were completely shocked. All the kings who had become affiliated kingdoms of the Blazing Sun Kingdom were shocked by Zhou's handiwork. They would be given 10 million kingdom-level soldier-type class change certificates as soon as they become an affiliated kingdom. The soldiers in their kingdom might not even add up to 5 million. These 10 million kingdom-level soldier-type class change certificates were enough for them to use for several years or even decades. Your Majesty is impressive, awesome, the Mystic Heaven Lord shouted in the group. The other lords also responded excitedly. This thigh was too worth hugging. It was not in vain that they sent the application the moment they received the news. The early bird indeed had worms to eat. Zhou watched this scene calmly. No lord was a fool. They all knew that becoming his affiliated kingdom would improve their relationship with him and the Blazing Sun Kingdom. The reason why he chose these 10 lords was because they were closer to him. Zhou had a good impression of Merlin from the Magic Kingdom. the only king that he was not familiar with. In addition, the other party's territory potential surpassed the other 10 people, so he chose him. However, he did not give the other lords any hope. Blazing Sun Kingdom, Intermediate Grade. Lord of the Blazing Sun. Everyone, develop well. I will prioritize choosing from within you the next time there are new slots. The other 10 lords of the Cerulean planet who had established their kingdoms were originally very envious and disappointed with the other 10 kings who had obtained tens of millions of kingdom level, class level certificates. Now that they heard this, they immediately became excited. Yes, Your Majesty. We will definitely work hard. The next spot will definitely be mine. I will definitely work hard to develop it. Don't worry, Your Majesty, the 10 kings said excitedly. Zhou nodded in his heart. These 10 kings had also signed a contract with him so they could be considered his own people. Therefore, when he leveled up the kingdom again in the future and had a new spot, he naturally would not forget them. Of course, if someone felt that they could obtain a spot in the affiliated kingdom without doing anything, Zhou did not mind holding another kingdom token auction and choosing from more lords. He believed that no lord could reject the temptation to become a king. Then, Zhou contacted Zhang Yuanqi and asked Uncle Zhang to come to his place. A moment later, Zhang Yuanqi came over. Greetings, Your Majesty, Zhang Yuanqi said respectfully. Prime Minister, now that our country has been promoted to an intermediate kingdom, I'll leave the celebration of the intermediate kingdom to you. I will open most of the functions of the kingdom channel to you, Prime Minister. When the time comes, you will have to worry about it. Zhou smiled. You're too kind, Your Majesty. I've already started making arrangements. Zhang Yuanqi had expected this and smiled gently. Zhou acknowledged. After that, he and Zhang Yuanqi chatted for a while about the future development of the kingdom. After chatting for more than 3 hours, Zhang Yuanqi left with a satisfied expression. After the other party left, Zhou opened the kingdom channel and took a look. Then he frowned slightly, feeling a headache and helplessness. The kingdom channel only has an upper limit of 5 billion subjects. It's not enough at all. Zhou shook his head. After subduing the 16 kingdom-level lords, the total number of soldiers and subjects under his command had officially exceeded 4 billion. When he recruited 1,050 million new recruits from Monster Ranch tomorrow, the number of subjects under him would officially exceed 5 billion. At that time, his kingdom channel would not be able to accommodate so many subjects. My kingdom is ridiculous to be able to have more than 3 billion soldiers and more than 1 billion non-soldier subjects after being promoted to an intermediate kingdom. Zhou complained. There was no choice. In the future, he should speed up the leveling up of the kingdom channel. That way, he should be able to open a higher maximum capacity for the kingdom channel subjects. Alternatively, he could temporarily arrange for subjects who could not join the kingdom channel to join the kingdom channel. Even though it was only a temporary measure, it was not impossible. However, he had to do the appeasement work in advance. That's the plan for now. Zhou shook his head and opened the kingdom interface of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. Kingdom name: Blazing Sun Kingdom, King. King of the Blazing Sun. Kingdom level: Intermediate Kingdom. Kingdom flag: Day of the Stars, Royal Army. Blazing Sun Army, Extraordinary Tier. Monster Army, Diamond Tier. Dragon God Army, Diamond Tier. Requirements for advancement to Advanced Kingdom. Territory level up to Epic Tier Advanced Grade. King City Region level up to Epic Tier Advanced Grade. 10,000 Epic Tier Mist Cores. Conquer 3 intermediate Crimson Kingdoms under the Crimson Overlord, 0/3. Conquer 2 intermediate kingdoms that are not under the Crimson Overlord, 0/2. 2,000 independent regional territories, 50 race heroes, 1 advanced Epic Tier Kingdom token. Zhou pondered. From the looks of it, he was only satisfied with the Mist Core and the race hero. He was not satisfied with anything else. His expression was calm, but he was not in a hurry. Currently, the speed at which he developed his territory was already very fast. Could even be said that he was the best. If he wasn't satisfied, so be it. He would just take it slow. He was not in a hurry at all. It would not be good if the quality was affected in pursuit of speed. The faction quests of the Elven Empire will start in 2 days. I'll complete the mission of the New Wind Demon Kingdom first before that begins. Zhou thought to himself. At this moment, Aaliyah's voice came from outside the door. Your Majesty, Legion Commander by requests and audience. Let her in. Zhou said casually. Soon Baiyun came in. She handed a list of battles and a spatial ring to Zhou and respectfully said, Your Majesty, I've already asked all the soldiers to pass through the Triumphal Arch. This is the specific list of battles. The spatial ring contains the corpses of enemies above the legendary tier. Zhou took it and opened the list of battles. Today, they had eliminated a total of 1.75 billion enemies. Among them, the Divine Sword Empire alone had eliminated a total of 1.7 billion Scarlet Fog monsters. The Star Alliance had eliminated almost 50 million fog monsters. These enemies were enhanced by the titles of the King of Loots and the Strongest Lord. They obtained a total of 3,161,821 legendary tier mist cores, 28,601,650 epic tier mist cores, more than 310,000 extraordinary tier mist cores, more than 520,000 diamond tier mist cores, more than 711,000 white platinum tier mist cores, more than 1,225,000 yellow gold tier mist cores, more than 2,960,000 white silver tier mist cores, and more than 6,562,000 green bronze tier mist cores, more than 78 billion 20 million skill books, more than 108 billion 26 million pieces of equipment. Basic materials, 30 quadrillion 210 million units. There were more than 210 million units of basic elemental gem resources. There were more than 15 million units of thunder element gems. More than 10 million units of life elemental gems. More than 12 million units of death elemental gems. 120 million origin crystals. 1,649,599 green bronze tier lord talent crystal fragments. 1,616 holy spirit tier scarlet divine crystals. Zhou's gaze first landed on the green bronze tier lord talent crystal fragment, then on the life elemental gem and death elemental gem. The life elemental gem and the death elemental gem add up. Including the more than 3 million life elemental gems and the death elemental gem in my hands, I only have more than 25 million. We're still short of more than 15 million. Zhou pondered. He felt that he should be able to level up again. Killing scattered scarlet monster factions is still not as good as directly destroying a country's lord faction. I obtained a lot of high-level gem resources. Otherwise, after eliminating a total of 1.7 billion fog monsters, if it were a kingdom-level lord faction, as long as they plundered their country's treasury, I would definitely be able to easily gather gem resources. Zhou sighed softly. There was nothing he could do about it. The base of these invading fog monster factions was not on the high continent after all. Otherwise, he would definitely send troops to counterattack and plunder their kingdom's treasures while their troops were empty. He would even plot to snatch the empire's treasures. Then the level of his territory would definitely increase rapidly. He shook his head and gave up on this unrealistic fantasy. He looked at the list at the back. Zhou had instigated a total of 100 million fog monsters in a day just by relying on 2 insight defections. In addition to the 20% insight defection troops handed over to him by the Lord members of the Star Alliance, there were a total of 35.7 million and 1,100 fog monsters. Now, the total number of soldiers under his command has reached 3,252,091,864. Including the Star Alliance's total military strength of more than 358 million. Zhou's total military strength had already reached more than 3,610 million. Among them were 18,509,005 black iron tier soldiers, 10,305,730 green bronze tier soldiers, 1,669,713,225 white silver tier soldiers, 890,200,720 yellow gold tier soldiers, 577.6 million white platinum tier soldiers, 68,009,080 diamond tier soldiers, 16,006,511 extraordinary tier soldiers, 1,039,750 epic tier soldiers, and 1,011 legendary tier soldiers. In addition, Qi Shentian had broken through to low-tier deity level intermediate grade. Guichao had broken through to the low-tier deity level advanced grade. Dragon King of Volcano and Destruction, Nazario, Dragon King of War and Strength, Jilong had broken through to the legendary tier advanced grade. The original spirit race, Ansel, had broken through to the legendary tier. The other heroes and generals had also improved greatly in terms of strength. Zhou nodded slightly. He was quite satisfied. At least his legendary soldiers had officially exceeded 1,000. Not bad. Not bad. As for those generals who were stuck at the legendary tier advanced grade and could not break through to the God Spirit realm, Zhou had no choice. At this moment, they were no longer short of promotion energy. What they lacked was comprehension of laws. I hope the Holy Record and the Time World can allow them to quickly break through this threshold. Zhou thought to himself then. He looked at the spatial ring. There were more than 100,000 low-level divine crystals and more than 10,000 higher-level divine crystals. In addition, there were more than 28,000 low-tier deity-level divine artifacts and a corresponding number of divine spark fragments, god-tier medicinal herbs, god-tier ores, and so on. Zhou's expression was calm and his heart did not fluctuate at all. He had already piled up a mountain of low-tier deity-level divine artifacts. Right now, he was not very interested in low-tier divine artifacts, mid-tier deity-level divine artifacts, or even high-tier deity-level divine artifacts. Only true god-tier divine artifacts could tempt him. After reading it, Zhou transferred all the treasures in the spatial ring into his king's treasure box. A moment later, "Your Majesty," Wenya's voice suddenly sounded from her personal terminal. Wenya has already sorted out the earnings report for the virtual game helmet business. Does Your Majesty want to take a look now? Show me. Zhou was stunned before saying, "Yes, Your Majesty." The next second, a list of benefits appeared on his personal terminal like a blue data waterfall. Zhou looked around and realized that the income of the virtual reality helmet was recorded in detail on this profit list. This included the income of the helmet itself, the income of various game members, the income of game items, the income of the game platform members, the total recharge income of the game. Finally, his gaze fell on the last income statistic. Net profit. About 21.6 million 5,640 legendary tier, mist core. Zhou thought he had seen something wrong. However, after wiping his eyes twice, he realized that he had not seen anything wrong. How did you earn so much? Zhou was stunned. This was the income from the first batch of virtual game helmets. Could be said that the business had just started. He had just started the game business and more than 20 million legendary tier mist cores had been transferred to his account in a day. At this rate, even the income in 10 days to half a month would give him a fright. What more if it were in terms of years? Moreover, the most important thing was the income from the gaming helmet. His Blazing Sun Kingdom subject actually didn't contribute much income. Instead, the two human empires and the people of foreign races contributed a lot of income. It could be said that more than 80% of the 20 million mist cores were provided by the people of foreign races. No matter how interesting the virtual game helmet is, it's just a toy to pass the time. There's a risk of losing one's will if one plays with it for a long time. Would the lords of the people of foreign races be willing? Zhou was puzzled. Your Majesty, when you thought that the lords of the people of foreign races were willing. Because most of the games included in the virtual game helmet are confrontational and war games. This type of game is extremely realistic, reaching almost 99% reality. In addition, the skill data and war data in the game are all sourced from the real world, so almost 80% of the experience obtained by players in the game can be reflected in reality, thereby enhancing the combat experience and combat command EXP of superhumans in reality. This is also why so many people of foreign race subjects are keen to play our games. Due to their experience in reality, they were at risk of dying. In addition, they were afraid of being injured or even dying, so they did not dare to take risks in reality to temper themselves. On the other hand, virtual games can satisfy their thoughts of adventure and training to the greatest extent. And they only paid some top-up fees. Based on what you said, why don't the subjects of the Blazing Sun Kingdom? Halfway through his sentence, Zhou suddenly realized something. The people of foreign races were afraid of taking risks because they only had one life. If they died, they would really die. The possibility of revival was almost zero. And his soldiers from the Blazing Sun Kingdom? All of the soldiers of the Blazing Sun Kingdom were like Suicide Squad soldiers. Resurrecting after death was as easy as eating and drinking for them. Afraid of death? There was no such thing. No wonder the sales of the virtual gaming helmet were average in the Blazing Sun Kingdom. Only subjects who had free time and did not have to go to the battlefield were interested in playing the games inside. Almost none of the soldiers were interested, because for his soldiers, reality was the best game. Virtual battle game? Only children would play that. Adults would play the real thing. This game business can continue to expand. If you need anything, you can discuss it with Zhang Yuanxi directly. You can use the low-level resources as you please. Zhou smiled. He had a premonition that this virtual gaming helmet business and its future derivative businesses would probably be a huge profit tree for his Blazing Sun Kingdom. Since that was the case, Zhou was already planning to develop its potential. After Zhou arranged the matters with the virtual gaming business, he opened his personal terminal and sent a message to Ji Yun. However, there was still no reply. Zhou frowned slightly. This kind of unknown situation was the most worrying. While he did not have any bad premonition or intuition, this thing was not omnipotent. Otherwise, he would have directly changed his profession and become a great prophet. He took a deep breath and stopped thinking about it. Then, he gathered the higher-ups and generals in the territory and entered the time world to comprehend the laws again. At the same time, Leah looked at the brightly lit cultivation hall with an infatuated expression. Yu Qiao whispered from the side, "Queen, won't you be unhappy if His Majesty is like this every day? Don't talk nonsense." Leah shook her head and looked at the cultivation hall. The infatuation in her eyes deepened. "This is the appearance of the number one emperor in my heart. Have you ever seen an emperor who could live with the soldiers, high-level lifestyle professionals, people of foreign races, and God spirits in the territory and cultivate diligently? Only His Majesty. What His Majesty wants to do is something that has never been done before in the history of the human race. As His Majesty's wife, how can I delay His Majesty's state affairs because of a love affair after the Blazing Sun Kingdom? Don't say such things again. If outsiders hear you, I can only punish you," Leah said seriously. "Yu Qiao won't spout nonsense anymore." Yu Qiao's body trembled as she hurriedly said. Leah nodded slightly. The next day, in the cultivation hall of the Advanced Grade Lord's Paradise, Zhou opened his eyes. A hint of joy flashed in his eyes. "I actually comprehended all the law engravings of the White Silver Tier Lord Talent King in just 3 years. I comprehended all the law engravings of the Yellow Gold Tier Lord Talent King within another 6 years. Even though I only used 30% of the White Platinum Tier Lord Talent King in the remaining 4 years, this speed is extremely shocking. The holy record actually improved my comprehension so much." Zhou took a deep breath and the smile on his face became even more obvious. According to this progress, he should be able to comprehend all the law engravings of the Extraordinary Tier King in 7 days. At that time, he would be able to officially become a god on the Lord's law path with the Extraordinary Tier Law Skill King. He stood up and looked at the others. He realized that the others had already woken up. He was the last to wake up. At this moment, the two of them exuded the pressure of God spirits as they walked over. When they walked in front of Zhou, the God spirit pressure on them had already been completely retracted. They looked like two normal generals. However, the others present looked at the two of them with either smiles or envy. "Greetings, Your Majesty," X2 Suan and Luo Shang said respectfully. "Not bad. The two of you have finally become gods. The Blazing Sun Kingdom has gained 2 more generals. Zhou nodded. He was very happy. This way, he had a total of 9 local god spirits under his command. Another god spirit would bring him to reach 10 god spirits. If it was a normal intermediate kingdom, having 4 to 5 low-tier god spirits was enough to be considered a unique intermediate kingdom lord faction. He had never come into contact with the advanced kingdom, so he was not sure for the time being. However, thinking about it, this number of divine offerings should be considered quite good in the advanced kingdom. Zhou did not waste any time and directly rewarded them with a set of low-tier divine artifact outfits. Make good contributions in the future, and any kind of divine artifact can be exchanged with military merits from me. Zhou smiled. Yes, Your Majesty. The 2 of them also knew Zhou's benevolence and smiled respectfully. Zhou acknowledged. Then, he walked out of the cultivation hall with the soldiers, the upper echelons of the territory, and the high-level professionals. Everyone went to eat first. Zhou also returned to his palace and prepared to let the imperial chef cook a good meal. Actually, at his level, it didn't matter if he ate or not. However, firstly, this habit was very difficult for Zhou to change for the time being. Secondly, his imperial chefs were all legendary tier professionals. Eating was more like a lifestyle enjoyment for him, so he was still willing to maintain the habit of eating every day. Unless he was too busy, he would not eat and focus on his own matters. Then, just as he returned to the palace, he saw Leia standing at the entrance. Your Majesty, I've already asked the imperial chef to prepare the dishes. They'll be sent over in a while. Let's eat together. Leia smiled gently. Zhou was stunned for a moment before nodding with a smile. The 2 of them then had a meal together and chatted about the trivial matters of life for a while. Then, Zhou walked out of the palace and walked towards the Gate of Summoning. Soon, he arrived in front of the Gate of Summoning and chanted the summoning in his heart. The next second, the Gate of Summoning suddenly lit up with a bright white light. Then, a large number of new subjects walked out. After spending 100 extraordinary tier miscores to accelerate, the 18,800 new subjects quickly walked out of the Gate of Summoning. Greetings, my lord. X18. 800 The 18,800 new subjects said respectfully in unison. Welcome to the Blazing Sun Kingdom. Zhou nodded. Then, he asked all the professionals to stand up and realized that he had summoned a total of 580 professionals. Among them were an extraordinary tier advanced grade space demon mage, a high-level martial artist, an extraordinary tier advanced grade array master, an extraordinary tier advanced grade talisman master, an extraordinary tier advanced grade herbalist, an extraordinary tier advanced grade physician, and an extraordinary tier advanced grade bloodline warlock. Zhou's gaze landed on the last bloodline warlock. He realized that she was a beauty from the people of foreign races. He opened her attributes list and realized that most of her skills were innate abilities, and very few of them were acquired skills. Zhou clicked his tongue in wonder. Every time he saw such a special class, he would sigh at the boundless universe. It was really omnipresent. Talented abilities that others could only chance upon by luck were simply free for bloodline warlocks. At this moment, Bai Yun and the others should still be killing monsters on the Ranchland continent. Zhou did not look for them and went straight to the Lord's shop. The Lord's shop. When Zhou arrived, he saw Zhou Chengmin wearing a virtual gaming helmet and lying on the sofa with a silly smile. Zhou shook his head. Another old man who was addicted to games. Old Zhou. Zhou knocked on the counter. After a while, he saw old Zhou sitting up from the sofa reluctantly. Then, he quickly took off his virtual gaming helmet and quickly came to him. Have you been playing all night again? Zhou looked at the dark circles under his eyes and the corners of his mouth twitched. All the major games are in open beta. Last night was the busiest night. We have to race against time. Actually, I wanted to stay up late, but I heard from some experts that it's not good to stay up late, so I stayed up all night. Zhou Chengmin said innocently. Zhou. Sure. However, Your Majesty, Zhou Chengmin said expectantly as he took out the goods. Even though hundreds of millions of gamers have suddenly surged into the virtual gaming world, on average, there are not many gamers assigned to each game among the more than 300,000 games in the virtual gaming helmet. Even in those large virtual games, there are still less than 1 million people online at the same time. Compared to the size of such games, it's still too little. The gaming experience hasn't reached its peak at all. Be content. Jojo was speechless. It's only the first day of release. Can I still find 10 billion players for you? But just you wait. From today onwards, Wenya has expanded the gaming helmet business. In the future, there should be more than 500 million new players joining the virtual game every day until the market is completely saturated. Really? Zhou Qingmin's eyes lit up. Zhou nodded nonchalantly and opened the 3 golden boxes. The first box contained the low-level law skill, Divine Concealment. It was a nomological skill that could turn invisible in front of God's spirits and make them unable to discover it. Moreover, because he had extremely high potential, although he was only a low-tier deity level elementary grade, even if he was a high-tier deity level, he only had a higher probability of seeing through it, not 100%. Only true God tier and above existences would be able to see through this divine skill. As expected of the law skill comprehended by the Knight Rakshasa sword god, Suin, a smile appeared on Jojo's face. With the potential of an advanced grade master god tier, Suin's nomological skills after becoming a god were indeed extraordinary. The current he was probably the same as Qi Shentian and Guiqiao. Even though he was only a low-level god spirit, in terms of combat power, he was already comparable to a high-tier deity-level god spirit. He nodded in satisfaction and made up his mind to buy it. Then he looked at the next item. It was also a skill and a law skill at that. The low-tier deity-level elementary grade law skill, Ghost God Military Morale. It was from unparalleled ghost god Luosheng, who had advanced to the lower level of a lesser god. After he had advanced to the low-tier deity-level elementary grade, he had comprehended the path of heroes and the rules of the Book of the God Spirit, and had walked a path of gods and heroes. Unparalleled ghost god. The current Luosheng had already become half a ghost god. Moreover, the path of laws he walked was extremely good at fighting alone in front of the formation and controlling the power of the army. The ghost god military morale was a heroic skill that came from a hero, the ghost god general. Not only was it retained by Luosheng, but it had also advanced further and advanced to a low-level deity law skill. Not only could the ghost god military morale control more soldiers, but it also had a greater weakening effect on suppression, illusion, mind enchantment, and other abilities. Even god spirit level suppression, illusions, mind enchantment, and other abilities had a higher weakening effect under the protection of the ghost god military morale. Jojo nodded in his heart and decided to buy it too. Then he looked at the third item. The third item was a card. Jojo was surprised and relieved. It felt like it had been a long time since he had seen card-type goods. He looked at it. There was a white-silver card drawn on this golden card. On the right side of the scale hung a black spherical object that looked very heavy. On the left side of the scale there was nothing. This situation caused the 2 sides of the scale to be extremely unbalanced, causing the right side to completely collapse. Card name: Free Intermediate Grade Access Card. Card level: Special card effect. The Lord holds this card. When shopping in the Lord shop, you can buy goods worth 50 million legendary tier mist cores and below for free. Card description: An exclusive card from the Lord shop. It can be used for free shopping. Jojo raised his eyebrows. It was a freebie card. He looked at the attributes of this freebie card and shook his head. 50 million legendary tier mist core was not a big deal to him now. In that case, the value of this intermediate grade free access card was only SOSO. How much are these 3 goods worth? Jojo asked. Zhou Chengmin, who had already laid on the sofa and entered the virtual gaming world again, said without looking, low-tier deity-level elementary grade law skill, Divine Concealment, worth 3,000 legendary tier mist cores. Low-tier deity-level elementary grade law skill, Ghost God Military Morale, worth 500 legendary tier mist cores. Shop card intermediate grade commodity free acquisition card, worth 10 legendary tier mist cores. Jojo nodded. He clicked his tongue in his heart. It was also a low-tier deity-level elementary grade law skill. The value of the Ghost God Military Morale was actually so different. From this, it could be seen that the potential of the ghost god military morale was far greater. However, he did not mind. He took out 3,510 legendary tier mist cores and bought them all. Then, he learned the first two directly. The latter was placed into the king's treasure box. Then, he did not disturb Zhou Qingmin and directly left, walking towards the advanced grade lord's paradise. At Mu Gu's residence in a study room in the advanced grade lord's paradise. At this moment, Mu Gu was sitting in a pavilion in front of his residence, leisurely sipping tea. After Zhou Zhou came over, he unceremoniously sat opposite him. Then, he poured himself a cup and took a sip of tea. He praised, "Good tea. Greetings, Your Majesty." Mu Gu immediately stood up and said respectfully, "Have a seat. You don't have to be so reserved when you and I are alone." Zhou Zhou chuckled. After he sat down, he asked, "How long has it been since Bai Yun and the rest went in?" "It's been almost half an hour. They should be out soon." Mu Gu smiled. Zhou Zhou acknowledged. Then the two of them chatted and drank tea. After a while, Mu Gu's expression changed. He stood up and waved his right hand. Bai Yun appeared in front of the two of them. "Greetings, Your Majesty," Bai Yun said respectfully without any surprise. Then, she handed a spatial ring to Zhou Zhou. Zhou Zhou took it and entered with his consciousness. He saw the mountain of spoils of war inside. He was not interested in the other loots. His gaze landed on the 4 mountain-like books. They were 420 million yellow gold tier god, attendant recruitment books, 420 million copies of the yellow gold tier god attendant class change certificate, 630 million violent storm spirit recruitment books, 630 million copies of the violent storm spirit class change certificate. Zhou Zhou smiled. Then, he brought Bai Yun out of the advanced grade lord's paradise and came to the gate of summoning. He used 100 extraordinary tier mist cores to recruit 1,050,000,000 new recruits at once. It was the same this time. The extra soldiers were directly carried by the internal world of the galaxy. A smile appeared on Zhou Zhou's face when he saw so many soldiers being arranged by Bai Yun in an orderly manner. Excluding the soldiers of the Star Alliance, he originally had 3,252,091,864 soldiers under his command. Now that he had 1,050,000,000 soldiers, his soldiers directly broke through 4 billion and reached 4,252,091,864 soldiers. I wonder when it will break 10 billion, or even 100 billion. Zhou Zhou was filled with ambition. Only soldiers of this scale could be useful in the future battles of the myriad worlds. Even though there seemed to be many of them now, they were still too few compared to the war with the heavens. Of course, at this stage, it was enough to satisfy Zhou Zhou's needs. Zhou Zhou opened the market channel and placed 2 billion copies of the previous King of Yellow Gold class change certificate and 2 billion copies of the Violent Storm Spirit class change certificate inside after all the soldiers were arranged. At the same time, he invested 100 billion pieces of equipment and 100 billion skill books. Let's clear the inventory. Zhou Zhou sighed softly. Even though he already had enough soldiers under his command, the King of Loots was really a cheat-like Lord Talent. No matter how much military merit and contribution points his soldiers and subjects used to consume the equipment, skills, and other resources in his inventory, his resources never decreased. Instead, they increased. There were so many that the treasury could no longer hold them all. For example, he had obtained more than 18 million equipment and skill books from the war yesterday. In addition to the extra equipment, skill books, and other resources he had obtained previously, his soldiers could not be exhausted in a short period of time. Since that was the case, he might as well sell them to the human lords of Cerulean Planet while they were still valuable. At the very least, he could exchange them for some mist cores. The old rules of selling were still the same. Every lord still had limited purchase rules to prevent the phenomenon of large-scale hoarding and reselling of scalpers. It could also allow some lords with slower hand speed and slower information acquisition to buy the war resources he sold. Zhou Zhou opened the world channel and found that the lords of Cerulean Planet were crazily praising him for selling so many resources. Many lords said excitedly that he was the savior of the human race on Cerulean Planet. Zhou Zhou did not feel anything. This was because he only wanted to sell his inventory in exchange for some mist core. He had no other intentions. He didn't think too much about it. He turned to look at the more than 37,000 divine artifacts in his king's treasure box and fell into deep thought. Most of these divine artifacts were obtained from legendary tier enemies' legendary tier weapons. After death, they were provided by the king of loot's quality +1. There might be more than 100 divine artifacts provided by true god spirits. However, this was not important. What mattered was how to deal with them. There were less than 10 god spirits under Zhou command, so he definitely wouldn't need so many divine artifacts. Sell it to the humans or rent it to the humans. Zhou thought about it and realized that he only had one choice. His current relationship with the human race was relatively good. Moreover, he had previous experience trading divine artifacts with the human race, so their cooperation could be considered pleasant after all. And when he thought of the humans, Zhou frowned again. He wondered how Temple Lord Bai He was doing. Just as he thought of this, he saw his personal terminal suddenly light up. Zhou was stunned and hurriedly looked at the caller ID. The Yellow Emperor. Zhou was stunned for a moment before he immediately answered the call. The video showed the amiable image of the Yellow Emperor on his personal terminal. "Hello? How can I help you, Senior Yellow Emperor?" Zhou immediately asked. Little friend Blazing Sun's item is interesting. I haven't come into contact with such a scientific item in almost 10,000 years. It's quite practical. The Yellow Emperor chuckled. Previously, the personal terminals in Ji-Yun and Lu Xun's hands were shattered by the aftershocks of our battle, so they didn't continue to broadcast our battle to you. Does little friend Blazing Sun feel regretful? Indeed. Zhou nodded seriously. I've never seen a true god-tier fight with all his might. But that doesn't matter anymore. Senior Yellow Emperor, how is Temple Lord Bai He? He is fine. Here. Little Bai He. Come and meet little friend Blazing Sunday. Look at how worried he is. The Yellow Emperor chuckled. Senior Yellow Emperor, please leave me some face. A familiar helpless voice sounded. Bai He, who was covered in blood, walked to the front of the video and waved at Zhou with a heroic smile. I'm safe. You don't have to worry. Just as he finished speaking, a solemn expression suddenly appeared on his face. I've already heard what happened from Ancestor Lu. If it weren't for you, I might have already died at the hands of those 3 abyssal demon gods. Bai He will never forget this favor. Just tell me if you need any favors in the future. I will do it even if I have to go against the Supreme Agreement. Bai He's expression was solemn, and he didn't seem to be joking at all. When Zhou saw this, he put away his polite thoughts and nodded. He said seriously, "Then I won't reject the help of a super expert like you." The two of them looked at each other and suddenly laughed. Senior Yellow Emperor, Senior Lu, and Senior Bai He, did you fight for an entire night last night? Zhou asked curiously. That's not true, Patriarch Lu said with a smile. Last night, we actually only fought for 6 hours before the battle ended. The 3 abyssal demon gods also died at our hands. When Zhou heard this, even though he was already mentally prepared, he was still shocked. These were 3 genuine true god-tier existences, and they were actually killed. However, that Asgrad is indeed a super expert of the abyss. Even though we have the true god-tier divine artifacts, he still caused a lot of commotion before he died, letting the abyssal creatures on that level know about the true god-tier divine artifacts. Patriarch Lu's expression was cold. Therefore, His Excellency the Yellow Emperor, His Excellency Bai He, and I decided to completely destroy this layer of the abyss and let him return to the earth, water, wind, and fire, entering a state of chaos before it can be born again. We have been doing that for the rest of the time until just now before we returned. The Yellow Emperor and Bai He nodded calmly. It was obvious that they did not dislike this matter. Zhou clicked his tongue. At the same time, he felt some admiration. As expected of the strongest experts of the human race. They were decisive. They could destroy a world just like that even if it was just to avoid leakage of information. However, the Abyss was a world that was extremely opposed to the living world. The two of them had a long-standing aggro. In addition, This matter concerned the possibility of the human race encountering a crisis of extinction in the future. Therefore, there was actually no psychological pressure to destroy an abyss world. The only pity is that we've caused too much of a commotion, preventing us from staying in the abyss any longer. Otherwise, as the ruler of the Divine Kingdom, Asgrad's Divine Kingdom would definitely have many good things for us to take. Now, we can only leave it to those abyssal demon gods who came after smelling it. The Yellow Emperor said with a look of pity. Patriarch Lu and Bai He smiled but did not say anything. Being able to rescue Bai He had already far exceeded their expectations. It was too risky to take the risk and stay there just for some rare treasures in the Divine Kingdom. The Yellow Emperor was just saying. He turned around and didn't care anymore. He flipped his right hand, and a spatial ring appeared in his hand. He then handed it to Zhou Zhou.